Israeli missile lands in Gaza home and sits on bed unexploded amid calls for ceasefire as bombing enters 11th day. An Israeli missile crashed into a home in Gaza and landed unexploded in a double bed, forcing Hamas explosive experts to remove it as a violent clashes rage on. Shocking images show debris strewn across the room of the house in Khan Yunis in Gaza Strip, with a crane removing the rocket as a crowd of Palestinians watch. An Israeli missile crashed into a home in Gaza and landed unexploded on a double bed, forcing Hamas explosive experts to remove it as violent clashes rage on. Shocking images show debris strewn across the room in the house of Khan Yunis in the Gaza Strip, with a crane removing the rocket as crowd of Palestinians watched on. In comes that Israel and Palestinians are mired in the worst conflict in years, with Gaza Strip being pounded with airstrikes as Hamas militants fire rockets into the Jewish state. Hamas-run radio said a woman was killed and 4 children were wounded in one attack on the town of Khan Yunis. Witness said several main roads were also damaged in the airstrikes. In the Gaza City suburb of Sabra, Amir Islam 14 and 3 family members were wounded in one Israeli attack, which said caused parts of the house to collapse. "We are sitting on the sofa when a missile landed. There was heavy smoke and we couldn't see anything," she said from her hospital bed. As bombings entered the 11th day, diplomatic efforts towards a ceasefire are gathering peace and worsening humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian territory. Agencies across the globe are appealing for a halt in violence to allow medical supplies into Gaza. The severity of injuries is straining an already overwhelmed health system, WHO Regional Director Ahmad Al-Madari said in Cairo on Wednesday. A senior official in Hamas said a ceasefire could take hold within days. Rocket attacks on Israel paused for 8 hours early on Thursday, but they resumed against communities near the border. Meanwhile, an Israeli minister said Israel would halt its operation only when it had achieved its goals, as warplanes unleashed more airstrikes on the 11th day of hostilities. Since the fighting erupted on May 10, health officials in Gaza say 230 Palestinians, including 65 children and 39 women, have been killed and more than 1,700 wounded in aerial bombardments. Israel authorities say the death toll to date is 12, with 336 people treated for injuries in rocket attacks that have caused panic and sent people rushing into shelters. Israel carried out more than a dozen airstrikes on Gaza after midnight, targeting what it said was weapon storage unit in the home of Hamas official and military infrastructure in the homes of other commanders. Nearly 450 buildings in Gaza have been destroyed or badly damaged, including 6 hospitals and 9 primary health care centers. The United Nations Humanitarian Agency has said more than 52,000 people have fled their homes in Gaza, which is blockaded by Israel and Egypt. Israel living in areas frequently targeted by rocket fires began their workday on Thursday without the usual sound of warning sirens. But after an 8-hour break, the sirens blared again. No casualties or damage were reported. Israel said some 4,000 rockets have been launched at it from Gaza, some falling short and others shot down by Iron Dome air defenses. US President Joe Biden on Wednesday urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to seek de-escalation. A Hamas political official, Mossab Marzouk, said he believed that efforts to reach a ceasefire would succeed. "I expect a ceasefire to be reached within a day or two, and the ceasefire will be on the basis of mutual agreement." Asked if a truce would begin on Friday, Israeli Intelligence Minister Eli Cohen told Khan Public Radio, "No, we are definitely seeing very significant international pressure. We will finish the operation when we decide we have attained our goals." The International Committee of the Red Cross has urged for a ceasefire, saying that civilians on both sides are exhausted by fear and grief. Thank you.